All right, welcome back. We're going to take a look at arrays. Now, a good real-world example of an array would be like pages in a book. A book is a collection of the same type of item, which would be pages, and it has a particular sequence. So in a book, you can't just randomly change the order of all the pages because, well, the book wouldn't make any sense. And also, there's a defined length. Any book out there only has so many pages. So here we have 4 different arrays. And let's take a look at this first one, our numbers array. It has an underlying type. So each one of these has an underlying type. Just like our book has pages, our numbers array has underlying type of int. And we can only store ints in here or we're going to run into an issue. So let's go ahead and run this real quick and print those out to the console. And there, all 4 of our arrays print to the console. Now if I was to change this to a string, this should throw an error. There we go. Cannot convert our string dog, this untyped string, to type int. Let's change that back. And then it would run again. One thing to notice when we're running this is that the sequence is always the same. Notice it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Doesn't matter how many times I print this out, I'm still going to get A, B, C, D, E, F, G, unless I manually change it in my code. And another thing to look at here is that we have a defined length. So our array has 1, 2, 3, 4 items. Our next array has 7. One after that has 3. Now with this one, we're using the 3 dots, which means we're basically telling the compiler to say, hey, I'm gonna put a whole bunch of things in this array. I don't want to bother counting them. I want you to go ahead and count them for me and create the array at the correct size for me. So let's go ahead and go down to our next example. Okay, so here we have 4 more arrays. Now, as you can see, we didn't actually assign any values to these arrays. We just declared them. Now, what's going to happen here is it's going to go ahead and set the value for all 4 of these ints to whatever that underlying data type's 0 value is. And since the 0 value for int is 0, it's going to put 4 zeros in there. So let's go ahead and run that. There we go. So our underlying data type is int, so its 0 value is 0, gives us 4 zeros. String 0 value is an empty string, so we have 7 empty strings. Same thing with the float. We got 0 value of 3 zeros, and the 0 value for booleans is false. Now, if we want to access a single item in our array, all we have to do is write out our array, give it the brackets at the end, and just give it whatever the index is, and that will return that. So an index is the numbered sequence for our array, and the index always starts at 0. So the first item in our array, as you can see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, is at index 0. And the second item in our array is at index 1. Third item in our array is at index 2, and so on and so on. So if we want to capture the 5th item in our array, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be the string E, we want to put in the index 4. So basically, this is going to grab the string E, place it here, assign it to the variable 5th, and then we're going to print it. So let's just go ahead and print this real quick. There we go. We have the value E. Now, if we wanted to access the first element in an array, it's actually pretty easy. Since we know every array starts at index 0, we can just take our array and put the number 0 inside the brackets, and it will return whatever's in that spot. So it's going to return A and assign it to the variable first, and then it prints out, and there we go. There's the letter A. Now, accessing the last element in an array is just a little bit trickier, but it's not difficult. So to do that, our last element in our array is at, at index 6. So we need to find the length of this array to figure out what that index is. So we're going to use one of Golang's expressions, len, which is short for length. And what it does is it's going to take the array and count how many elements are in there. And as you can see, we save that to length, and then we print that down here. So we have 7 elements. Now, since we don't want index 7 to put in here, we have to reduce it by 1. So we add, this is just our little expression put in here. It's going to take 7 minus 1, place the number 6 in between these brackets, and then it will return the string G. Now, we could actually do this in one single line. So basically, we're going to go ahead and print what's inside here, and it's going to take the length of the array, which is 7. It's going to minus 1. It's going to return 6 to this section here, and that's going to return the string G, and then that's going to get printed to the console. There we go. It prints G. Now, we have an array here, which is just going to be lockers. Now, there's only 6 of them, but you can imagine if we had more of them. And we have 6 different people assigned to each one of these lockers. Now, let's say Jane wants her locker beside her best friend Jessica, for instance, and Logan, for instance, would rather be beside his friend Bill. So we're going to go ahead and switch the lockers. So what we can do is we can create 2 new variables, and we can save them we can save both of these people into these variables, and then we can just switch them. So Jane is at index 1. So remember, we start off counting 0, 1. So we're going to save her name into student 1. And then we know that Logan is at index 4. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to save him into student 2. And then we'll go ahead and take our lockers array, and at index 1, which is this spot, we're going to save Logan's name into there, which is in student 2. And same thing at the index 4, we're going to save Jane's name, which is in the student 1 variable, and it should go ahead and switch those. So let's go ahead and run that. There we go. We have switched Logan and Jane from where they were before. All right. I'll see you in the next one.